Changes in the home overlapped with changes in the workplace, reducing the amount of labor needed in the home as the labor market began to call on women to produce the goods and services that the home would need. You can see the result if you look at the figures. Some immigrant and Black women decided to stay at home as their children grew into better jobs, but the numbers of young children working also declined in the 1920s. At the same time, we see a modest increase in the proportion of native-born married women working for wages. While the majority of white women and about 40% of Black women working for wages remained single, increasing numbers of wage earners married and held on to their jobs. These women seem to consist of both the very poorest women going out to work and women of the middling sort, married women without children, with husbands who weren't quite making enough money to buy a house or the goodies that the wife needed. A wife who chose to work as long as she could might be a real benefit to the breadwinner. Other options presented themselves to women who imagined they could both earn and keep house. Since many factories reduced hours, partly as a result of the protective labor legislation adopted before the war, factory workers might work a 45 or 50-hour week as opposed to the 54-hour week common before the war. This left a woman who needed or chose factory work at least a little bit of time to make a breakfast, take care of her household, come home and cook a dinner afterwards. In the South, female factory workers benefited from the refusal of cotton mills to hire African American women. White women earned wages high enough and with hours flexible enough for married women to hire colored women to take care of their children. In southern cotton and wool mill towns, this was often standard practice. A wife with small children set aside a small part of her salary for the woman who needed to leave her own children to take care of the mill worker's home. In the workplace, women found brand new opportunities after the war. If earlier a woman could expect to remain in the same job indefinitely, increasing her salary by increasing the rate at which she worked, after World War I, she began to find opportunities for promotion or upward mobility. Greater reliance on consolidation and expanding bureaucracy created jobs in offices and department stores and banks that had not existed before the war. These were better paying and more respectable than factory jobs or domestic work. For example, a young woman might start out as a cash girl in a department store and then be promoted to the sales floor. If she were very good and committed, she might become a section manager for a series of departments, and she might then move even further up to become a buyer in a particular department. As she moved upwards in the scale, her salary moved up as well, perhaps enabling her to move out of her parents' home or even to live independent of marriage. The finance and banking industries employed women during the First World War because men had gone off to war. Women who could be hired more cheaply worked first as bank tellers. Employers then discovered that they could promote them to managerial positions, perhaps as junior officers within banks, supervising other tellers, for example, and even screening mortgage applicants. These women worked for far less than a man earned, and yet their take-home pay far exceeded what a woman could earn anywhere else. In the growing advertising industry, women at first worked only as clerks or typists or filers, but a little luck and talent could open up a job as a copywriter. The insurance industry promoted a handful of women to adjusters. As women's opportunities expanded, their involvement in traditional jobs declined. Domestic service, which had been the most popular job for women workers before the war, declined rapidly. And the smaller numbers of women who stayed in that field often chose to work by the day rather than to live in with a single family. The semi-professions, librarians, grade school teachers, nurses, and social workers began a climb that has not yet ceased.